I'd like to welcome to One a gentleman who's caused people a lot of enjoyment over the years and a lot of laughs. Rick Parfitt from Status Quo.
Hello.
Why do you think it is that people have a lot of affection for you?
I don't know. I think longevity has obviously contributed to the fact that people like us, and I think people have had a chance over the years to not like us. You know, they've had plenty of time not to like us. Okay, we've heard it all. We'll go and see them then, see what they're like. So they come along and we convert them, you see. Once I see, I put it down to that. And I mean, our audience is I mean, having said that, there are people that obviously don't like us. Otherwise we could do a gig for 50 million people, couldn't we? There's obviously people who don't like us. But I mean, we started out quite young, going step by step, right from the underground clubs, which you'll remember, right? No disrespect, dear, but you will remember. And Peely was around, you know, and we all had a great time. The underground clubs were great. The Castle in Tooting, and we started there, where it was known as Heads, you remember? Everybody who came to a gig was a head, long hair, trench coat, album, and a pint, right? Check this lot out, right? Started there. Everybody sits down on the floor and nods their heads to the beat. This is why we stand with our legs open and our heads down. Because we got it off the fans. They all said, oh, we better go along with this lot, you know. And they all liked it. In fact, in the early days, when we did the set, we hardly looked at the audience, because the Barnet was down here, right? We got that all in, it was down there. And it was just like that, shorter now. Hardly, only looked up in between songs, you know. And we worked it the hard way and came through slowly but surely and worked the clubs. It's vastly different now how you do it. Records like Rocking All Over the World expanded our audience, you know, a lot of people, because we did a lot of exposure with that song. And a lot more people started to come and see us of varied age, you know, and then Army again interested a lot of people.
What was it about, that song?
Being in the Army.
But what is...
We converted the meaning of it. We thought quite cleverly in our own cute little way. It was all about Nam and stuff, but it's obviously a bit late. So we thought, well, we could convert this into, because we'd always said that our fans, this army of the Quo, the denim-clad army.
Did you expect it to be such a big hit?
As the song grew in the studio, yes, I did. At first, Francis found the song. He'd heard it when he was up to something or other in Ireland. And he played it to me on the way down to a recording session. And I said, yeah, it's all right. At first hearing, you know. And we decided to do it. We'll give it a go. So we recorded it. And as I say, as the song grew, and it became very warm, and there was something about it, something special that this song had, not only lyrically, the chord structure and everything. It was a brilliant song.
Your relationship with Francis, I mean, how long have you known each other now?
We met in '64 at Butlins in Minehead, where they, i.e. the Spectres, were playing in the Rock Ballroom for the whole season at Butlins. And I, at that time, had just won what we called a shop window in London, which is where you go up to the first floor of a seedy pub and all the agents from all over the country come and see what you can do. And I went out and played Doesn't Matter Anymore by Buddy Holly, almost in short trousers sort of thing. And I'm not quite sure what a few of the agents thought, you know. However, I got a summer season from this, and I teamed up with two girls, and we called ourselves the Highlights. We were a trio doing popular hits of the decade, and we got the summer season down at Minehead at Butlins as well, only in another ballroom. We were in the sort of bow tie and, you know, go out and watch the cabaret. You know, we were in the cabaret sort of thing. And I couldn't wait to get this Dickie Bow and the Penguin and all the business off and get over and see the group, you know, because we'd met at rehearsals for the season. And I used to go over every night. Cut a long story short, again, the season ended. And, well, I say cut a long story short, Francis was caught in bed with a girl in digs by a woman called Mrs. Fitzer. Nasty piece of work. And she threw Francis out. And Frame and me had become quite close, right? So I said, well, okay, old buddy, you know, I said, if you're thrown out, if you've got nowhere to sleep, I said, I'll slum it with you, you know. So I left my digs. And, well, I didn't leave them. I just said, I'll hang loose with you, man, you know, well, he did at the time. And we slept in bathtubs on the camp, right? The catering staff used to get up at like 5:45 in the morning or something, and Frame and I would literally get in the chef's bed, you know, or climb in their bunks to get a kip, you know, because we had nowhere to stay. We even stayed one night on the front where they stack all the deck chairs, pulled a few of the deck chairs out and made like a camp, pulled them in behind us, and we're in the middle of this pile of deck chairs, and we're kipping there. Didn't matter, did it? You know, 16, 17, didn't matter, we didn't care. And that's really where we formed a close, don't get me wrong, but we became good pals.
When did you become status quo?
67, late 67. It came out of a shoe somewhere. It really did, yeah, it came out of a shoe. Our manager at the time, who was a gas fitter, Pat Barlow, I mean, he was a lovely guy, and he did all he could for us.
A gas
He was a gas fitter, yeah. We used to go to some of the gigs, and the gear used to go in the gas van, you know, and stuff like that. It was serial. And he'd seen a shoe with Quo Vadis in it, in Saxon or something, I don't know. And,
what, stamped inside?
Yeah, like in the sole of the shoe, you know, Quo Vadis down the shoe, like Italian design, whatever. Yeah. So consequently, Quo Vadis, because we were going to be called the Queers, anything to attract attention. We were going to be called the Muhammad Alis, right, because he was big at the time, right? Anything to attract attention. And consequently, they were all put to one side, and it was shuffled this about, status quo. Right, boom, call ourselves status quo.
Do you remember a lot about that, the early days?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I mean, horrific memories, some of them. We were number, I think it was 11 in the charts or something, with Matchstick Men. And we were back in Madeline Bell. We had a commitment to Madeline, and we weren't going to break it, you know, although we could have gone out and played to 60 or 70 people ourselves. And we had a double one night in Manchester, and we couldn't make it, so the van broke down. But of course we had to get home, and the van was knackered. So Francis and I agreed to try and get the van home. And it was so cold, I remember, it really was biting cold. And the van was leaking, it was raining. This is a true story. And we've got water in the van and stuff like that. And we had our feet wrapped up in newspaper, right? And trying to get this van home. There's 5 of us in there and all the gear, right? So it's from there to the roof, there's the PA, right? So consequently, as I was saying, somebody got to sit on the engine, which was the luxury spot, you know. No cushion, you just want to sit on the engine, which was in the middle of the 2 front seats. And 3 of us had to lay up on the PA, and you'd come home like that down the motorway. You know, it'd be great if you had a crunch or something. Boom. Instant Superman backwards, you know. I mean, in those days, Francis and I used to, we'd drink half a bottle of scotch to, you know, rock and roll, okay? Before we went on, I always remember one gig we went on. We'd had a game of football before we'd gone on. That's young, right? We'd played the road crew at football, that nice. And we went on, and we'd only got about 4 bars into Born to be Wild, right? And we get on the guitar coming out like it does, you know, like that. And I heard this almighty crash, wallop, and Frame, we'd literally just got on, and Frame had just walked off the side of the stage, not seen the edge, and he'd walked off. He's in a heap. He'd snapped his neck of his guitar, and he's in a heap on the side of the stage. One example of the early days, it was great. And we did a place called Nelson, which we were booked once a month to do this place. And we had, in those days, it was the revolving stage, and you had the big band on first, right? And you were on the opposite side of the revolve. And as the band fades down in those days, the stage started to turn, right? And you start taking over from the band. Again, it was Born to be Wild. Stacks behind us, you know. The higher, the better, the louder, the bigger. Come round, and of course the roof is a bit too low, and it's wiped the top half of the stacks out. And there's great times, great times. And what do? You're on there, the stage is still going round, there's sparks flying everywhere, your gear's been ripped apart, and you're standing there like a lemon going, what do we do?
What's the most exciting country you've played in then?
We played Russia recently. We did 13 nights in Moscow, and it was quite incredible. We came out for the first night, 17,500 people, blinding looking audience, right up our street, right? Came out the dressing room, first night, lights go down, walked around, nothing. It's like that. We thought, well, when we get out there, you know, drone starts on, you know, we start the set with this drone, very threatening sort of thing, you know. And walk out on stage, nothing, no reaction, you know, sort of sitting there, you know. No reaction at all. Plan 3, do whatever you want, okay? The song, whatever you want, right? Steam through it, da 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 da, boom! Nothing. We're getting that, right? And I looked at Frame, I thought, uh-oh, we got 14 nights of this sold out, you know. And it was very strange, because Francis is very good with an audience, you know, wherever we are, you know. Whether it be in Germany, some of them can speak English, but I mean, he always gets it across. But in Russia, not a lot of those 17,000 spoke English. We got halfway through the set, and we do a track called Dirty Water, which is, that was very polite, wasn't it? Dirty Water, what? Where it's audience sing-along time, you know, come on, ooh, it's one of those, the scarves, you know. And he somehow got it across to these people, we want you to sink ski, you know, with us ski, all right ski, right? And they did, and all of a sudden the place went berserk, really went berserk. Some years ago in San Francisco or somewhere, and we played to like 85,000 people. Right. It was an all-English bill with Peter Frampton, Fleetwood Mac, and a few other people. And we were, needless to say, opening this bill. And out of the 85,000 people, there was probably 10% of them in at 11:30 in the morning. And we went on, and like we do, we went on and went for it and did this blinding set, you know, half an hour of rip-snorting rock and roll. It was great. And we came off, and a guy came up to me immediately. He said, "You guys were really bad." And I said, "What do you mean?" I said, "We've been rehearsing for this for a bloody long time." And I had a real good go at him. And it wasn't till a couple of days later somebody said to me, "You know, the guy's giving you a compliment." I've never seen him since.
Yes, that business about being the opening act is, it must be a bit sort of soul-destroying, actually.
Well, yes and no. I mean, on a bill like that, where not an awful lot of the people know you in America. I mean, they'd heard the name. I mean, people in America now know the name, Status Quo. It's not just a phrase in the dictionary. I mean, people, Status Quo, hey, that's a band, isn't it? Yes, it is. You know. But, I mean, like, on the other hand, you go and open Live Aid, and, I mean, nothing wrong with that. It was fantastic.
It was.
Oh, what a spot. I mean, everybody...
Was it terrifying?
Terrifying. I don't think that's really the optimum word. It wasn't terrifying. No, it was very exciting. I remember. I mean, we've been in the business a long time, and before you go on stage, most nights you get a certain rush. You know, when the lights go down. I mean, that's what it's all about. If you don't get that rush, then you shouldn't be doing it. And Live Aid was something just beyond that rush. When the guardsmen were marching about, and the announcement came out, it's 12 o'clock here, it's 12 o'clock there. And we were about to be announced to go on to this world stage. I must admit I was a little bit edgy, yeah, to say the least. But once you got out there, I mean, it was quite incredible, the feeling on that stage. I don't want to sound corny, but the love that you could feel, the adoration that you could feel from that audience. And I mean, I'm not just saying Quo, I mean, everybody felt it, we all discussed it backstage. We did, I don't know, 4 songs, and it went past like that. you know, really wanted to get into it and go for it, and it was all over. It's such a shame.
In terms of gigs, do you find do you think it's never going to get easier?
Well, no, it's not, is it? It's not going to get any easier. But fortunately, because we've been around for as long as we have, we can afford to take a little bit of time out, I think, and still be there, as it were. You know what I mean? Once you climb up to the mantelpiece and you're firmly on it, right? I think we can afford to have the odd miss, hopefully, and we'll still be known. Oh, of course, that's, you know, status quo. Yeah, of course. We won't just sort of drop out of the limelight like that.
How can you retain that humour all the time? I mean, how can it?
You can't retain it all the time. I mean, I'll be honest. It's fun 50% of the time. It's fun. The best part of being on tour is being on stage. I mean, that's what you're there for. You don't come off stage and launch into a bottle of vodka and sit around in hotel rooms smoking joints. Years ago, it was a bit like that, but it's not anymore, because we feel very strongly about this within the band. So you have a large responsibility. You have a big responsibility to get out and give those people a good show. You know. So off stage, it's pretty straight.
So there's no.
But we do enjoy ourselves. We do maintain a sense of humour.
It probably is the only way to survive as a person and as a band as well.
As I said, I was known as Wild Man. I'm known as Mild Man.
Yeah. Are you happier, do you think?
Mild Man.
Far out.
Oh, I'm far happier, yeah. I'm much happier. I'm in control. I think if you're in control, then for most of the time I'm in control. All right, on the days off, okay?
Day off.
But on the day off, yeah.
Yeah.
But for the most part I'm in
Yes.
control now. Very boring, I know.
Do you think that all that kind of wild living was part of the trappings of, you know, being a rock and roll star? That you.
Of course. I don't think I would have lived like that if I was an accountant. I'm sure I wouldn't. In fact, I was a clerk at one stage just before I joined the band. I didn't live like that. So I know. Yeah, rock and roll's to do with it. I mean, it is. I mean, the business. I mean, to a large extent, I suppose, you know, sex, drugs, rock and roll, the old phraseology. I mean, it all goes on, you know, and you've got to learn about it like you have any other industry that you're in. You've got to learn about it, and you've got to learn how to cope with situations, and it takes time. You know what? Can I say something?
Yeah.
It's nice for me to be able to do an in-depth type interview like this, you see, because I never really get a chance to speak to the public, you see. Because on stage I don't do any of the rap, Frame does all the rap. And I just thought I'd like to say it's very nice to talk, because people see paper write-ups, you know, bits and pieces, but I never actually talk to the fans on a one-to-one basis or whatever. And so it's very nice for me to be doing this.
Good. Oh, I'm glad. Well, I'm very glad. Rick, thanks very much indeed.
It's been a pleasure, really.